Hey, good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us on the Thursday Night Hockey Show, which is on a Monday night because it is trade deadline day. And joining me, as always, the man, the myth, the legend, Travis. All right, Nick, how you doing,
I hit
brother?
myself in the ear.
Oh, don't do
It's
that.
really loud.
Ow.
Nah, I'm playing. Hey guys,
Man, how you doing?
I'm doing good. I
Oh,
spent a good portion of today standing on the side of the road during a traffic jam in a shrimp suit with a sign for my store. Because advertising is expensive, but shrimp suits are cheap. And if you see a guy in a shrimp suit, you're probably going to remember it. So just put two and two together there. We'll see if anybody comes in the store because of the shrimp.
excellent. So let's pimp the show, the store, man.
Yeah, Deep in Antiques in Beckley, West Virginia. We got a lot of stuff. We got stuff that you definitely don't need. Um, we got stuff that you might actually kind of need, like toasters. We have a few toasters, and they're not even electric ones. They're really cool. You just put them on top of a coal stove. Um, Skillets, records, thousands and thousands of records, military stuff, knives, ceramics, glassware, posters, um, chairs, a table. I only have one for sale right now. Tables
Nice.
sell super quick. So anyway, that's Deep in Antiques in Beckley, West Virginia.
Cool. Well, there's a Facebook page. Drop by if you're in the area, Beckley, West Virginia. And so today is the trade deadline day. Now, I got out early this morning. I had to go to Dollar General, and I wore my Miroslav Shatan jersey, Old Buffalo.
Shatan.
Yeah. Walking through the store, I honestly forgot. I knew I'd put the jersey on. I just forgot that it was a Miroslav Shatan jersey. So this lady behind me goes, "Get back, Satan!" Yes, excellent.
Did you turn around and go, "Oh no, different Satan"?
I was like, "Man, he's a hockey player. It's not the same guy."
It's the
She
devil's
didn't. I don't think
sport.
she believed me. I don't think she believed. I mean, especially when we got the demon goat head on the
Yeah,
front of the. I mean, that doesn't really help the case.
it looks like an Iron Maiden tour jersey.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, it's making a comeback next year, so I mean, I'm excited to see the old red and black come back.
Oh, me
But
too, for sure. Also,
yeah,
I have my dog in the other room. He's been very needy today, so at some point I might have to get up and interact with him for a few seconds. Sorry about that, guys.
no worries, man. All right, so lots has happened
A lot has happened.
since we convened on Thursday. Just Thursday, we have had a lot of stuff go down, and we're talking about trades. So basically, as we were ending the show last week, um, the trades started rolling in. Two big ones that night. That was the Ben Sherratt trade uh, from Montreal to Florida. Florida gets richer. Ben Sherratt, probably I would say the most coveted defenseman on the trade board heading into the trade deadline. And in return, Montreal gets a nice haul. I mean, they get a forward prospect. I'm not really sure what his deal is. I haven't really looked too much into the prospects that have been trading back and forth, but they got a first round pick next draft, not the one coming up, and then another fourth round pick heading into the future. So, I mean, it's a good trade for Montreal because they got good value for him. Maybe not this draft, but at least they've got some futures to build on.
Yeah, I feel like both teams really got something good out of this. Like, this is a pretty even trade. Montreal needs rebuild potential in a bad way,
Yeah,
and Florida needs a few extra pieces here and there to help with this playoff push.
yeah. Florida has, and as we see it, we'll see it going through the trades as we go through them. And we're not gonna go through every one of the trades that happened. There's a couple of ridiculous ones that have happened over the last few days, but we're gonna go over the major ones that have happened, and then we'll talk about our winners and losers as far as the whole weekend goes until today. Um, but yeah, that was a good trade. The next one was Kelly Yarncroke going from Seattle to Calgary. Um, Seattle's been on a dive for a while, and they got a pretty decent return for him. I mean, Calle Yarncrook's a decent, probably middle six forward, maybe bottom line forward. He did well in Nashville. He was one of the more productive players on this kind of moribund Seattle team, but I think will make a good fit. I think they're slotting him in on the third line in Calgary.
Yeah, Seattle. I mean, I make fun of Seattle all the time. Dude, they have like half of the draft picks for 3 years.
Well, so does
Um,
Arizona.
yeah, but it's really between us and them. If Seattle can't do something with all these draft picks, um, just go ahead and burn the city down, right? It's insane if you actually just look at a list of how many picks they have, and a lot
They'll
of them are
move.
pretty high. I mean, they're actually good picks. So,
They'll move the franchise to Oklahoma City.
Oklahoma City.
For those former Supersonic fans. Yeah, that it's still. I just don't see the vision of this team. I get that they're loading up on draft picks, but
That's all they're doing though, and there's so many different ways they could have handled this and picked up better players to trade off right now to get more draft picks out of. Like, I understand that they took a lot of low cap gambles. I think maybe that was kind of the idea. If I had to pick something that even seems visible, it was just like, don't pay anybody a lot of money, just have a lot of people to trade. Sure, that's interesting. It's a different approach. The problem is the same approach that everybody else takes is the one that wins cups. So I don't know if this is really a subject to innovate on. Like, I feel like it's a pretty straightforward thing. You draft good players, they play good hockey, you win playoffs, and then you get a cup out of it.
yeah.
This weird, like, backwards, underhand, left turn into the middle of the infield, like, I don't get it, man. It's cool, though, I guess.
I don't know, man. I don't see an identity for this team. I don't see. I mean, this is really kind of. I guess maybe the identity is that it's a traditional expansion team because I don't. I mean, I don't see this team competing for 5 seasons. Um,
I don't see this team competing at all. I mean, there's no foreseeable future here. And honestly, the best thing that's come out of the Seattle Kraken, in my opinion, is the biggest concern with another expansion team was spreading the talent out too far. You don't have to worry about that with the Kraken. They're not going to take it. So it's basically a free space.
yeah.
It's like we still have 31 teams and an extra bye week.
Pretty
Works
much,
for me.
yeah.
I'm not a Kraken fan. I actually don't care.
But yeah, for Calgary, I think it's a good fit for Calle Yarncrook to put him in the third line. Not a team that needed a whole lot of tweaking as we head into the playoffs. They seem to be kind of firing on all cylinders. I would not be surprised to see them win the Pacific Division fairly handily, and get a first round against a Dallas or Vegas, depending on how many teams are in the playoffs from the Pacific versus the Central Division. So,
Yeah, and this year's been interesting too because we didn't have any kamikaze trades.
Yeah.
There was no, like, everybody remembers when the Blue Jackets tried to pick up anybody that had scored more than 3 goals or stopped more than 3 shots. And then the next year, Toronto did literally the exact same thing. Nobody did that this year, which kind of makes it a little more interesting. It's all the trades seem pretty even.
I think it was spread around. Like, I mean,
everybody did something, but nobody did a lot of anything.
Well, there were probably 6 teams that did a lion's share of were involved in the lion's share of the work, and it was, maybe 7 or 8 teams because in the dealing teams, Seattle did a bunch to deal off players. Arizona dealt off quite a few players. Montreal dealt off a ton. And then teams acquired, so like Tampa, Minnesota, Florida, and Colorado. Those guys and New York, they all acquired quite a bit out of all these acquisitions, as we'll see.
Yeah, and trade with Montreal this year is basically the equivalent of like taking your change and putting it in the Salvation Army kettle. It's like, yeah, we probably won't use these picks. I kind of feel bad for these guys. I feel like there should be some type of charitable tax write-off associated with trading for Montreal's players other than Sherrod right now.
Yeah, I there are some issues I think with not so much Florida. I mean, Florida I think is solid. I think they've got a lot of their roster under a pretty decent deals for at least a couple more years. There's something to be said that they've dealt off a couple of years worth of first round picks. Buffalo has their pick this year. Montreal has it next year. Um, Same thing with. Let's talk about this trade because this is the probably the biggest head scratcher trade of the entire. I mean, I get what Tampa's doing because to them the draft doesn't mean anything. It's all about winning the cup. Um, but the price they paid for a player that has 30 goals in the NHL total is astounding. Um,
I feel like this is the absolute bottom of the barrel trade of the year. I don't think that anything was a worse decision than this. Hagel definitely has potential, but I honestly don't think that he has one first round draft pick of potential.
yeah, I mean, let's
Let alone two.
let's go over his history. This guy was drafted by the Buffalo Sabres in 2016 as like a 6th round draft pick. Went to a couple camps, refused to sign, was put back into the entry draft. I don't think he was drafted the second time around. Was invited to training camp for the Montreal Canadiens in 2018. Didn't sign with them. Was an unrestricted free agent. Eventually signs with Chicago. His first year is cut short by the pandemic. His first season was last year. He played a full season last year. Got 9 goals. He has 21 goals this year. I get what Tampa is doing and trying to recreate that Goudreau uh, line that they had last year because he's got a high compete level. I just think that dealing away 2 first round picks, and yes, they are top 10 protected. But I don't think that Tampa is going to be anywhere near the top 10 in the next 2 seasons. Or I'm sorry, in 23 or 24. Even if the bottom kind of falls out or some players get hurt, um, I think Tampa is going to be somewhat competitive over the next few years.
Tampa's too deep. That's
Yeah,
that's
Tampa's
the
too
deal
deep.
with Tampa.
The only thing with Tampa is the money. That's the big equalizer with Tampa. The re-signing the players and uh, a flat salary cap. So I don't know. I mean, 2 first round picks plus it wasn't even enough for that. They got Taylor Radish and Boris Kachuk. Both of these guys made the World Junior team for Canada a couple years ago. These are not like bottom line guys. Radish scored a nice goal the other night for Chicago, or last night for Chicago. He's got some talent. Both of these guys have really good talent. They played together forever.
I
It'll be
just,
interesting.
yeah, I feel like you had as much potential in both of those guys as you do in Hagel.
Yeah.
So I don't know, man. There must be something going on behind closed doors. Like Chicago seriously owes Tampa a favor right now in a big way.
Yeah, exactly. Um, we'll skip over the Nick Delaurier for a 3rd round pick from between the Wild and the Ducks was a pretty decent pickup. That's a good energy 4th line forward for the Wild. And Anaheim stockpiling picks as you see with the next trade, which is Hamvis Lindholm and Cody Curran. And in exchange, the Ducks get a 1st round pick this season. Next season, they get a 2nd round pick, along with a 2nd round pick in 2024. along with a roster player, Urho Vakanainen, and John Moore, who's kind of a floater D-man that he played time in Buffalo for a while. He's kind of been all over the league.
Yeah, I mean, Boston's another team that needs all the picks they can get. They're aging out of themselves extremely quickly. Anybody that's anybody in Boston is, down to 3 or 4 years. So,
yeah,
I don't know how I feel about this one.
I mean, Pasta's got a few more years, but I mean,
Pasta's got a few more years, but he's pretty much the only one. I mean, you've got McAvoy. A few of the bigger names are still kind of young, but whenever you lost Krejci,
yeah,
that was a huge hit. Marchand is probably down to 4 or 5 years now, I would say.
Maybe even less than that.
Yeah, because he's getting up there. I can't see trading off this many picks on a defenseman that would be a playoff piece whenever you don't have a playoff team.
And well, it didn't make sense until, and it still doesn't make sense to me. But Hamvis Lindholm, who was going to be a unrestricted free agent, turned around and signed a 6-year, $52 million deal with Boston. Which for that dude, I don't. I mean,
it's Brent Suter in the Wild, is what it is.
Yeah, I would have gone. I would have gone to free agency and see what I got there, versus staying in Boston, which
he's guaranteed money. I don't think that the guy actually cares about playing that much anymore.
Well, I mean, he's never really had much of a playoff run in his time in the NHL to begin with. So.
Yeah, and Boston's not going to build a playoff team in the next 6 years. I just don't think that it's going to happen.
Over the next 6 years, they're going to fall out of the playoffs, and they're not going to be a competitive team, especially when they're dealing off all the picks that they've dealt off.
Boston is like the 07 Red Wings right now.
Yeah.
They just came off of a dynasty, 4 or 5 years before. They're still doing all right. They're kind of trucking, but it's time for the wheels to fall off.
Yeah, I mean, they could be competitive this season in the playoffs, but against.
But all it takes is one guy to get hurt.
Yeah.
We
forgot they have Taylor Hall.
So what you're saying is that draft pick is actually going to Uno reverse card itself back into their pocket and then become the number 1 pick.
That's right. Taylor Hall. Bastard.
Florida trading off Owen Tippett. That was kind of surprising.
But when you
first round pick.
When you get Claude Giroux, honestly, Florida is just building a super team right now.
Florida looks like an all-star team.
Does it almost feel like there is right now it's almost like we're waiting for a 1996 Stanley Cup final rematch between Colorado and Florida?
That would be so sick.
Yeah, it would. That's a Clash of the Titans. I mean,
dude, they wouldn't even be like metal detectors at the door. They'd just be checking for rats.
Yeah.
Could you imagine the rats coming back on the ice in Florida?
Heck yeah, man.
I'm here for it. I want to see it. I actually really excited about that. Florida has worked so hard to get here. And, there were some questionable decisions that still worked out for them. Like, I really don't think that the Trocheck trade was a good one on their behalf. I
think they've got such a plethora of Florida. It made Owen Tippett expendable. I mean, the problem with Tippett is he doesn't get the ice time that he needs to progress as a player.
No, and I guarantee you the next year Owen Tippett's going to be over 25 goals in Philadelphia.
He's gonna get the ice time that he needs in Philadelphia, because really he's one of the top 2 or 3 forwards in the team now.
Yeah, I would be amazed if he doesn't go straight in as a first line. Yeah. I think that Owen Tippett absolutely will be, at least before the end of the year. I'm sure that there will be a little third line trial period, Owen Tippett will end up on the first line, over 25 goals, and an absolute staple of Philadelphia hockey. Now, granted, without Giroux now, there's not a lot going on in Philadelphia. There wasn't a lot going on whenever he was there. Yeah. But, this guy's going to get a real chance to shine there. So, I'm happy for Tippett. Do I think that Florida needed Giroux? No. I I don't think that was the best decision for Florida to bring in a veteran player that has his own way of doing things. It's used to running the ship. I think that it might even cause some friction in Florida. Giroux's pretty outspoken. If he doesn't find his place very quickly and realize it's at the bottom of the ladder, it's kind of hard to tell where this one could go. I think that it was a big gamble.
I think Drew is going to be fine for this season, and just because he wants to get a cup. I think that's his thing right now. He's getting older. He's getting closer to the end of his career. He got close when they went against Chicago, lost in 6 games. I think he sees the end of his career, and he sees this golden opportunity to get a Stanley Cup, and then he'll hit free agency at the after the season, and then cash in wherever he wants to go. Hell, he could go sign back in Philly if he wants to.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely, if this trade worked out for anybody, it wasn't Philadelphia, it wasn't Florida, it was Claude.
Well, Drew. Yeah, absolutely.
The next one, this is probably the best value that anybody got out of all of this.
No.
Oh, yeah.
Robert
Hagg is going to find a spot and stick with it. This guy cannot be stupid enough to get out from underneath this Florida team.
Oh,
he better figure it out quick.
Yeah, Robert Hagg is insurance. I mean, we just found out that Ekblad is going to be out for the rest of the season and probably most of the first round. So he's defensive depth. And he's a shot blocker. He takes the body. He was decent in Buffalo. He came over in the Rasmus Ristolainen deal. It kind of made the Rasmus Ristolainen deal a little bit worse. So we got a first-round pick out of it last year, which turned into a young Swedish prospect named Isaac Rosen, and then Robert Hagg. Now it's a first-round and a sixth-round pick for Rasmus Ristolainen. I don't know. I think Kevin Adams has an issue asking for more as a GM.
That's a pretty big issue to have in this league.
I think he could have gotten a little bit more. Okay, maybe we don't get the 2022 sixth-round pick. Maybe we get the 2024 fourth round. Yeah, third or fourth round. Yeah,
it was worth a third or fourth all day, and especially if you look at what they're giving for everybody else, kind of here.
If you look what they gave for Brandon Hagel, the guy's got 30 goals. I mean,
that's what I'm saying, man. It's just,
it's like the trade last year with Taylor Hall getting a second round pick, and also having to deal off Curtis Lazar as well, who everyone seemed to like in Buffalo. For a second round pick and like a fourth round pick, like he couldn't have parlayed that a little bit better. You're getting Taylor Hall, or make it conditional. If Hall signs, you get a first round pick. If he doesn't, then it stays a second round pick. Something like just make an attempt at getting a first round pick for Taylor Hall. Yeah, agreed. Taylor Hall had them over a barrel, but rather than getting just completely hosed on the trade, they could have just said, you know what? All right, Taylor, you're going to spend the rest of your season in Buffalo, and we probably won't play you. Go have fun. Go getting a contract off of that. But yeah, this trade is it's another in line of trades that Kevin Adams has gotten where I think he doesn't quite get the value he needs. The Jack Eichel trade, I think he's gotten pretty decent value off it. We still haven't seen what the first round pick is going to be, but Alex Tuch and Peyton Krebs have both played really, really well. And I think Alex Tuch is going to be a captain of the Sabres probably next season.
Yeah.
And Peyton Krebs has got just tremendous ice vision. The passes he makes are amazing. And again, we still have a first round pick to come from that. And Eichel's injured again. So, I mean, It's looking really good for us. And if Vegas misses the playoffs, this is it's technically a lottery pick. We could lose it if it goes into the top 10, but if it finishes 11 through 16, that's a first round pick for Buffalo. It's pretty high in the draft.
Yeah. The next one, I'm confused.
So
Why?
you know what? This is I said it to you when it came out. I said this is this season's Nick Foligno. They wanted a guy with experience and leadership. Uh, talent be damned. Like, I mean, he's a good player, but he doesn't make the back end of the Toronto Maple Leafs that much better to play against.
Look, this guy is what, 40?
Uh
He's got to be getting close, dude.
Let's see.
I mean, honestly, whenever they drafted him in the expansion, I figured that he was going to last for maybe another year. I kind of thought that he had retired already.
Oh yeah, 1980 or 83. So he's a 38-year-old.
Okay, so he's close enough. In hockey years, he's 80, right? So I don't understand what the potential was. I don't understand what the appeal was.
Well, again, it's another first. I mean, well, he's a free agent at the end of the year. I know he wants the cup run, but I'm sure he was disappointed to go
It's
to Toronto.
Toronto. There is no
Toronto,
cup
man.
run.
Yeah, I mean that's a pretty sad place to end up your cut run because of the four teams in the Atlantic Division that are going to make the playoffs, which Toronto's going to be one of them.
Yeah, but they're not going
That
to make
is
the second
the
round.
Yeah, that is the team that I think the other three teams want to play.
That's who I'd want to play. Not only are they cursed, they kind of suck.
Yeah, I mean, well, they have tremendous scoring. They're going to drop goals a game. The problem is they can't keep 5 goals out of their net. And when it comes to the playoffs, you're playing teams that are far better defensively. You're gonna, you're gonna be scoring 2, and they're still gonna be scoring 5. And that's just a recipe for getting knocked out. Although, hey, they're gonna put up a fight, and they're gonna lose in Game 7, and I'm gonna laugh again.
Travis Hamonic.
Yeah.
I really don't care about this trade.
No.
It's two teams that don't actually matter. Cool, I guess. I'm sure that the start of next season, I'll see him playing for Ottawa if I accidentally watch an Ottawa game, and I'll be like, "Oh, hey, Travis Hamonic got traded," and then I'll just go back to not caring.
I don't even know that he's playing because I watched the Buffalo game last night against.
I haven't seen the guy in a while.
Yeah, I was watching the Buffalo game last night against Vancouver and did not see him at all. So I don't.
He's
even
a very forgettable defenseman.
A lot of Vancouver play, except for Quinn Hughes, is their entire defense is pretty. And Tyler Myers. Tyler Myers is like 6'30". But
yeah, I mean, I can name 3 Vancouver defensemen.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, OEL. Forget that he got traded there. But
now one of them's gone, right? So you got OEL, of course, Hughes.
Yep.
And Tyler Myers, and that's everything that I know about Vancouver defense.
Yeah,
actually, I don't think historically I can name anybody defensively for Vancouver, which is saying something because all I do is sit around and watch reruns from the '80s, like their heyday. I don't even 2010, whenever they made that run, I don't even know who's playing.
No, I don't either. Alex Edler, I think, was the last defenseman.
God, I haven't heard that name in 5 years.
Yeah. Troy Stetcher for a 7th, boring. Travis McDermott for a 3rd, boring. I mean, at least they, Vancouver replaced the defenseman that got taken.
And I think that they upgraded dramatically.
Yeah. Well, Travis Dermott, for some reason, couldn't really break through on Toronto, which is kind of concerning if you're if you're looking for him to break through in Vancouver. if you can't break through on the Toronto defense. But maybe a change of scenery. Bruce Goudreau is a coaching god and can get the best out of players. So maybe he does with Dermott. This was an interesting trade, and this is kind of fits in with the Hagel deal. Nick Paul going to Tampa for Matthew Joseph and a 4th-round pick. Um, I think Joseph has a better upside than Paul does, but Paul is that grinding left winger, and again, this is the whole idea of getting the Barclay Goodrow, Yanni Gord line back together that they lost last year. And they're guys that are physical and have a little bit of pop, and will probably if they end up like that Yanni Gord line, they're going to provide offense because the best defensemen and the best players are going to be playing against the Stamkos and the Braden Point lines. So they'll chip in with the big goals.
So I fell asleep the night before last.
I thought you were falling asleep while I was talking.
No, I fell asleep the night before last, and I'm pretty sure the last thing I thought before I fell asleep was, what if Tomasino gets traded to Arizona? And of course it didn't happen.
No.
But, some people have Christmas wishes. Some people have birthday wishes. I have trade deadline wishes. I'm not disappointed because it wasn't realistic, but one day.
Trade deadline. People who aren't hockey fans don't understand that trade deadline. There are high holy days in the hockey calendar. Trade deadline is one of them.
Trade deadline actually probably is the most important if you're a hardcore hockey guy, because this is going to set the tone for playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
This is the thing that you don't see as a casual fan. Like next year you watch a game and it'll be like, oh wow, Scott Wedgwood's playing for Dallas now. That's weird. For us, like, we spent the last month and a half speculating on what was going to happen for the deadline.
Yeah. I mean, this is one of the high holy days. I will say, free agency day is a high holy day. Start of the season, and I'll say Boxing Day because of the World Junior starting. Because if you're like a big hockey freak like we are, that these are days where hockey is celebrated, and you pay attention a little bit more.
Yeah, and I mean, some of the most important moments in hockey history have happened on the trade deadline.
Oh yeah, Butch Gordon going to the Islanders. That was really
Wayne Gretzky go to the Kings.
No, to not to the Kings, but to the Blues.
I thought that he went to the Kings on the deadline, and then
the Kings was in August.
That's right. Yep.
Of 87, 86, 87.
But yeah, it had been 86 because he kind of premiered for the 87 season.
Yeah.
Mark Messier getting dealt to Vancouver. Ray Bourque.
Messier got dealt to the Rangers too, but it was the year before they made the playoffs or won the Stanley Cup. But he was, of course, integral piece to that. I mean, it's an important day. Last year or 2 years ago when they is when Yanni Gord and Barclay Goudreau and those guys got plucked up in the trade deadline to go to Tampa and made that that line that really helped propel them to the Cup. So I mean, it's a big day.
I think that it's a bigger deal than the actual draft because
depends on
but you know exactly what these guys are capable of because they're already in the league.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Connor McDavid getting drafted was a huge deal, but so was Alexander Daigle. Like, sometimes the draft is a huge letdown. Eric Lindros, that draft was probably the most blown out of proportion ever.
Yeah.
And there's so many players that slipped in from other places. Kovalchuk didn't get drafted, did he?
Oh, no, he was first.
Or, yeah, he was a first-round pick in
Yeah, it was the
Who am I thinking
year
of? There
that
was one of the Russians that got picked up super funky and then just kind of showed up.
Panarin.
Yeah, that's right. Panera wasn't drafted.
Panarin.
Panera was a
I don't
pickup.
remember exactly what his story was, but it's, somehow I think he like signed as a free agent with Chicago out of the KHL, and just showed up and clicked. And
Yeah, wasn't it him and Anisimov came over at the same time?
can't remember, but
I
yeah,
think so.
yeah. Panarin's story is pretty interesting.
Panarin should be respected way more than he is.
Oh yeah,
If nothing else, just because he beat Putin.
he did. He beat Putin.
He beat Putin.
Let's see.
Be beating that Putin, Annie.
Yeah, Wedgwood. I mean, that's again another pick for the Coyotes.
Well, and we also just signed Veggie to a 3-year contract today.
Who?
Vajel,
Oh, Vemelka.
yeah, Vemelka. I still can't say that guy's name.
Veggie.
Veggie. Yeah, Veggie's
Love
his
it.
name.
Love it. Now your Coyotes did a couple of interesting trades. This one with the Wild, Jack McBain, son of an NHLer, and yeah, this one too, the Winnipeg Jets trade.
I love that Jets trade.
So both of these trades now, the player involved in this one, Jack McBain, is a college player, has not signed with Minnesota, told Minnesota he's not going to sign. So this is kind of a risk here in putting a second round pick on this player, unless he's got some ties to the Arizona Coyotes or Arizona community, Phoenix community, or something like
Shane
that.
Doan is his tie.
Is it? I mean, could be. I don't know.
Yep, Doan.
Yeah, it's a risk picking up a player who has told another team that they're not going to sign. Same thing with Nathan Smith. Nathan Smith is a college player. Told the Winnipeg Jets he wasn't going to sign, and made it expendable. Brian Little, first round draft pick for the Atlanta Thrashers back in the day, hasn't played in a couple seasons. A long-term injury. I don't think he's going to play ever again. This is a cap move, and Arizona now can no longer pick up contracts. So basically, dead money contracts. Brian Little, I think they're still are they still paying for Marian Hossa?
I think they're paying for Marian Hossa until 2025.
Yeah, I mean
they got shafted with Hossa, dude. They're stuck with that forever.
Well, I think that was again back when they were trying to maintain the cap floor. Hossa helped them do that, and to an extent still does that. Brian, if it was that much of a bother, they wouldn't have done the Brian Little deal.
Yeah,
because Brian Little still keeps a couple $1 million on the books as well. But they get a 4th round pick out of that, and I mean not bad. Again, there's still risk in dealing for. I'm sorry, they gave up a 4th round pick in that. I mean, they've got a ton of picks. It's not like a big deal for them to give up a pick, but that it's a little bit more of a risk having that college player that's not going to sign, possibly not going to sign. Let's see. Marcus Johansson goes back to the Washington Capitals for Daniel Sprong, who's really just kind of he was
Sprung.
He was a first round, like one of the last first round picks that Pittsburgh had before they just started tossing him away every year. And never made it with Pittsburgh, got dealt out to Anaheim, never really clicked with Anaheim, and eventually made it to Washington. Has really had kind of issues sticking around in Washington. So off to Seattle he goes. Probably going to get more time to play, but I'm not sold on him being that. He's not going to be the face of the franchise in Seattle.
Yeah, I still can't believe that they actually convinced the Kraken to maintain half that contract. stupid to me.
Again, Minnesota's got cap space. I mean, that's probably what they got one of the picks off of. Maybe the sixth. Maybe they got an improvement on the fourth round pick from fifth to a fourth or something like that. Um, you can weaponize the cap if you want to. If you're one of the low spending teams, the teams that are not going to do anything for a couple of seasons. The big trade this morning, probably one of the bigger trades of this whole trade deadline, was Marc-Andre Fleury finally getting dealt. There was a lot of question as to whether he was going to move. He was happy playing. Well, I don't know. Wouldn't say happy playing in Chicago. They've been kind of crap this year.
Dude,
getting lit up.
Yeah, I love this so much. This is like, I keep saying the Wild are coming up. The Wild are coming up.
Well, the Wild are coming up. The problem with the Wild is that they've got that albatross of Ryan Suter and Zach Parise's contract still sitting with them for another 8 years or something like that.
Yeah, but they have the potential to make a conference final run this year. I'm not going to say they're going to beat the Avs for it. That's one thing that I won't say. But if you do not see Minnesota, if you don't see Minnesota in the conference finals, something is terribly wrong.
I mean, I don't know that they've done enough to be able to beat Colorado. They've added some nice pieces throughout this trade deadline. I just don't know that they're deep enough to hold off Colorado. I mean,
I don't know if they have to be.
Colorado did enough this playoff to really kind of set themselves apart in the Western Conference.
Kirill is going to come in.
Kirill's a beast. I'm not going to deny that.
We are going to speak of Kirill Kaprizov the same as McDavid next year.
That's a big claim, man. I don't know.
It is, and I mean for it to be.
Just due to the fact that they acquired Marc-Andre Fleury, they had to flip Kaapo Kakkonen, which I think was a mistake. If you're going to get rid of a goaltender in that situation, I would have gotten rid of Talbot.
Yeah, for sure.
Because
Talbot's so inconsistent. He is not a playoff goaltender.
Yeah, and Talbot has much less rubber on the tires because Kakkonen is a pretty young dude. Talbot is older. He's been playing in the league for several years. I don't think he's going to be around much longer. So, and Fleury, he's done after this year. I mean, I don't know if he retires, but he's not going to re-sign in Minnesota. There's rumors that he's going to try and re-sign in Pittsburgh at some point, if not just to retire as a Pittsburgh Penguin.
I could definitely see that, man. There's something special about that 15-16 team.
Yeah.
I think that all those guys want to be back together for the end.
See, and I don't know why, and we'll get to it, but why Phil the Thrill wasn't traded for.
I hate that too. I want rid of Phil, man. I got a Phil jersey hanging up behind me. It's signed by Rick Tocchet. Nice. All my dreams just burn.
I don't even want to tell you how many Eichel jerseys I got. So,
yeah, but you buy the cheap knockoffs, man.
This is true.
Yeah, that's like 4 years. Come on, dude.
I know.
You're the smart one out of the two of us. I'm collecting here.
Well, as much as Buffalo changes their jerseys, I got to go the cheap route, man. It's too damn expensive to buy an NHL shop. Plus, I did get an NHL shop jersey one time, and it's probably the worst jersey I have. It's a Thomas Vanek, and they ironed on the letters and the numbers. Of course, this is back when Buffalo had the numbers on the front of their jersey, and you could see they burned the jersey. That's how bad it was done.
Man, the only jerseys that I actually care to buy anymore, with one exception, the reverse retro. I had to have one. Of course, I got an OEL. Whatever. I'm cool with it. I still like it. It's a cool jersey. The only ones that I actually care about are the first generation Arizona third. the one that has my lizards on it.
Yeah.
The starters. If I could find a CCM, which I have one, if I could find one that's Rick Tocchet or Jeremy Roenick or something, I would go crazy over that. But like Arizona is so consistent with their jerseys, they consistently suck all the time. And then we went back to the only decent one, which I have an OEL of too, of course, the Kachina. It was a gift, so it's like the best jersey ever. I didn't pay for it. I love it.
I'm going to mention this next trade because this had the best troll line on Twitter today.
The future considerations
yeah,
banner.
Nashville Predators acquired Alex Biega, a defenseman from the Toronto. He's been playing for the Marlies. It's just a depth acquisition in exchange for future considerations. And Nashville Predators tweeted out a thank you for everything, future considerations. I fully expect the next time they just played, so next season when the Toronto Maple Leafs come into Nashville, they better have a tribute video to future considerations. Let's see. Justin Braun got acquired from the Philadelphia Flyers.
They want to retire a jersey so bad. Nobody wants anything in this world as bad as Nashville wants to retire a jersey.
Yeah, but I mean, who do you retire? I mean, like the only guy I could think of. Well, they did just retire goaltender Pecorino.
Yeah, Pekka.
They just retired Pekka's this season, but yeah, I mean,
which seemed very unnecessary. He was good, but
well, I mean, he really did. I mean, there were some playoff runs. I mean, he got him to the Stanley Cup Finals.
It was really desperate.
Yeah,
you could smell the desperation.
I mean, who else would you put in the rafters in Nashville? Maybe David Legwand.
I don't know. Chief Weed from Vanderbilt. It's
what's his name? McCoy. Not McCoy. The guy who does the "I like it, I love it, I want some more of it" song. Yeah, they put him in the rafters.
Is it Trace Atkins?
No. It's Faith Hill's husband.
Isn't that Trace Atkins?
No, it's not Trace Atkins.
Garth Brooks?
No. I can see him. He wears a cowboy hat because he's balding and doesn't want everyone to see his bald head.
Yeah, Garth Brooks.
No, that's too. I mean, him too. But
I saw him in concert when I was in college.
So interesting story about Garth Brooks. He I'm gonna look this up. Tim McGraw. That's who it is. Tim McGraw. His dad was a baseball player. I think I lost hearing.
No, I'm just muted.
Oh, okay.
Because the dog's barking. I don't want everybody to have to suffer with me.
So yeah, Tim McGraw, his dad's was a baseball player. Tug McGraw died of brain cancer a few years ago. But yeah, he's the one who did the "I like it, I love it, once more of it" song. So
didn't I say Tim McGraw? Who did I say? Who was the first one I said?
Trace Atkins.
Okay, never mind.
Let's see.
I think I saw Tim McGraw once.
Justin Braun went to the Rangers. Depth acquisition on the blue line. Rangers had a sneaky decent day today. That's kind of a dirt trade. Allard for Burke. I mean, it's two teams that the Preds will make the playoffs. Kings probably will make the playoffs. But I mean, nothing earth shattering there. This is a good trade for the Edmonton Oilers. Brett Kulak from the Montreal Canadiens. Montreal got a pretty decent return in William Lagesson, who's a defensive prospect and a second round pick. A lot of people thought they'd get Kulak for a second or a prospect, but I think this was a pretty decent trade. It shores up Edmonton's back end, but it gives, I think, a ton to Montreal going forward. Let's see. This is the the home team fans probably hate this trade the most. This trade is the St. Louis acquired Nick Leddy and Luke Witkowski from the Red Wings in exchange for Jake Wallman and Oscar Sundquist and a second round pick, although it's 2 years down the road. Um, Not a lot of St. Louis fans are really happy about getting rid of Oscar Sundquist, and they think they overpaid on this one. Not really happy about getting Luke Witkowski. They don't even know why he was involved in the trade. Letty, I don't think Letty makes them uh, more than a first round out in the playoffs. Let's see.
Yeah, I'm kind of indifferent to that one, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, I as soon as that trade dropped, just I saw nothing but St. Louis Blues fans just railing on that trade.
I
Those
tell you
were-
what, Arizona's been upset about
What's that?
Larson.
Larry.
Larry.
Yeah. Yeah. So, well, I mean, this is an interesting trade. They got a third round pick for him. Well,
Should have got a second.
well, here's the problem with Larson is that he's been out for a month and he's not going to play until next month.
Still worth a second.
I don't know. I mean, it's hard to, let's say he re-injures himself and Washington never gets a crack at him. So
That's what I'm hoping happens.
although Arizona's retaining 50% of his salary.
That's why I'm saying it should have been a second.
Yeah, it should have been a second. And,
If we didn't retain half, who cares? It could have been a fourth. I don't care.
yeah, but I mean, again, pending unrestricted free agent, so it basically helps Washington stay under the cap, and the money's coming off the books at the end of the season anyway. Although I still think they should have gotten something a little bit more for Larry, especially if he plays up to his normal agitating self when he comes back.
That's why we loved him.
Him, and your favorite player playing together, that would be an interesting combination. Keep your head on a swivel. Zach Sanford. If I was a Winnipeg Jets fan, I would be pretty disappointed in the trade deadline today.
Yeah, Winnipeg gave up a lot more than they got.
Yeah, and they're not that far out of the playoff hunt.
I feel like Winnipeg was the loser. If I had to pick one out of everybody,
it's one of them. This is the most ridiculous trade of the day. Like, y'all could have got this done like 2 weeks ago. Don't drop this on trade deadline day. Nate Schnarr for Andrew Hammond. Two teams that are way out of the playoff race. Well, I mean, I was saying before we went on the air that they should have like a day or two after the trade deadline so that teams that are completely out of the playoffs can make trades and not bother us on a day like this. This was a trade that it was like, ooh, a trade. New Jersey's trading somebody. We're like, oh, cool. Who's that?
Is it PK? No.
Nate Schnarr. Who is that?
That's what I was going to say. Who is Nate Schnarr?
I don't know. But a bunch of Montreal fans started talking about how good he is. I've never heard of him. So this is kind of a sneaky, decent pickup for the Rangers. Nick Merkley for Anthony Betetto. I think it's a good depth signing for the Rangers to perhaps stock a Black Aces squad in the playoffs. Maybe give you a couple games if a player gets injured. But this is when the Rangers really started rolling. Rangers fans were apoplectic the entire afternoon until about 2:40 when the Rangers trade started being announced. This one was the first one. The second one was Tyler Mott getting dealt out of Vancouver for a fourth round pick, which is a good, I think, a good pickup for the Rangers. Not giving up a whole lot. Tyler Mott, again, a good solid bottom six forward. Again, depth for the Rangers, addressing some of those needs moving forward to the playoffs. Um, and honestly, the Rangers have been playing lights out lately. This last weekend, they played Tampa in Tampa and beat them 2-1, and then beat Carolina yesterday 2-0. And I mean, they look tough. They look like they're in playoff mode. Your Carolina Hurricanes, man.
Derek Brassard for what?
TBA.
What even is that?
To be announced.
I know. But
Should
what
be
is
called-
it?
Well, and 50% of Brassard's salary. They should have that by now. Let me see if the NHL Trade Tracker has that yet.
It better be good. Because Brassard actually is way underrated.
Wow. Edmonton acquires Derek Brassard from the Philadelphia Flyers in exchange for a 4th-round pick in the 23 NHL draft.
What?
Yeah.
Why? Why would you?
I don't know.
Ah.
I don't know. That's an interesting deal.
All right. So the most interesting trade of this entire deadline for me, Brindamore, I guess, has decided that he just likes bad attitude charity cases. I mean, Max Domi was known in Arizona for being the worst personality in the locker room. Tony DeAngelo, and now this.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting.
You know, those two are going to be best friends. I guarantee it. Like, they're the same person.
You know what? I bet you Brindamore really, really steps in and tries to keep them
separate, because it's going to be the two kids that always get in trouble whenever they have the same class teacher.
Yeah, he's probably going to have the captain step in and kind of take Max under the wing and keep him away from, because DeAngelo, to his credit, has really matured this year and has focused on playing hockey and has played decent hockey.
DeAngelo somehow turned into one of the best defensemen in the league.
Yeah. Well, he was always talented. That's the thing with DeAngelo.
Yeah, but he wasn't.
10-cent mind.
He wasn't talented. That's the thing. He had his moments, but he was not anywhere near the level that he's on now.
Yeah.
Like, up until this year, if you told me DeAngelo was in the All-Stars, I would laugh at you because you read the wrong name. Like,
this is an interesting trade in that, you're getting Max Domi. You also get this Tyler Inamoto. But it was a 3-team trade, and it was with the Florida Panthers, who this is kind of a collision course. I mean, you can see the Carolina Hurricanes and the Florida Panthers facing off in the conference finals. They get Igor Koroshoff from Carolina and a 2022 6th-round pick, and Columbus retains a quarter of Domi's total contract. So I don't know how many years Domi has left on his contract. That might be kind of nice. You're only paying 75% of his contract if he turns out to be, if Brindamore can reclaim him.
And there's the concern right there is what Brindamore can do with him. I mean, he got lucky with DeAngelo and he turned him into somebody. To see him do it twice in a row, I mean, that's just lightning striking the same spot.
And, at this point, Max Domi's got to kind of know that he's getting close to running out of chances. I mean, how many times has he been traded? I mean, this is what, his organization?
Fourth. This is fourth, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and it's always because Max Domi has been trouble in the locker room. And, if once that applies to a player, I mean, just like DeAngelo, people were saying that he wasn't even going to get signed this year. And it was just,
I was amazed to see DeAngelo go anywhere. I thought that he was just going to fall into obscurity. He's that one really political hockey guy.
Yeah, he was black. He had that black mark on him from, what he did in New York and his Twitter presence and all that stuff. We'll see what happens with Max Domi. I just don't know that.
The funny thing about DeAngelo, I feel like if he just said what he said while he was playing for Carolina, he would have become a hometown hero. I think that a lot of that was because he was in New York.
Yeah, I think to a large extent his Twitter presence did not jive with the locals.
And it was the year of the Twitter. Like everybody said something stupid on Twitter.
Yeah. Um, this is kind of a throwaway trade. Carpenter. Well, actually, Vladislav Nemestikov going to Dallas mm, might be an interesting trade for the Dallas Stars moving forward.
The Dallas Stars are trying to rebuild the Red Army.
This is true. We're gonna get we're gonna we're gonna have to get bigger jerseys just to fit the nameplates for these guys. Um, let's see another future considerations trade for a goaltender. Um, and then let's see Riley Nash getting future considerations. When they need to do the same tribute video when Arizona comes to Tampa next year. Andrew Kopp. This is a good pick for the New York Rangers. Andrew Kopp goes to the Rangers from the Winnipeg Jets. Morgan Barron goes back the other way. Barron is a prospect. Um, I'm not sure that he's all that exciting, but they get a fifth round pick and then they get future considerations. So it's two conditional second round picks. One of the second round picks can turn into a first if the Rangers win 2 rounds of the playoffs and Kopp plays 50% of those playoff games. And the other second round pick can be Winnipeg option in 2022 or 2023. So Winnipeg gets a decent haul for Andrew Kopp. I mean, I don't know that. I mean, if New York Rangers get into the second round of the playoffs or through the second round of the playoffs, that's well worth it. But um, it's the Rangers now have gone from rebuild to we're in the playoffs now. We need to build and make sure that the team can maintain its playoff positioning. They can no longer do the um, rebuild stuff and acquire picks.
Hot take.
Yo,
Watch me. Minnesota just made one of the best decisions for Minnesota. I hated Victor Rask.
oh, Victor Rask. Yeah, he was Carolina Hurricane, wasn't he? Yeah,
There are some people that were upset in the Minnesota fan base for this. This is an absolute trim the fat move, and you will not hear Victor Rask's name
that's
for a
good.
while.
That's because Seattle's season is ending at the end of April, and we won't see them for a while.
Yeah,
Um,
Rask, I think, would have got benched.
yeah, I mean, he's probably going to get some time in Seattle because, quite frankly, what else is there? But yeah, he would have gotten benched in Minnesota with the players they acquired this over the deadline.
This is a weird one. The Ducks pick up.
I've completely missed this. These are trades that have started cycling through late. Usually they're pretty good about getting the trades
the
up on the
first
boards.
the first notification I got about Rask was like 3 minutes ago from a Minnesota fan page,
Yeah.
and it's already just a bunch of mad reacts.
So Tampa gets another goalie. This looks like prospects. That's not a big deal, but this is an interesting trade. So Evgeny Dodonov gets moved again. This guy's been kind of all over the NHL. Um, and now
That's a confusing one for me too.
yeah,
I don't understand why Anaheim would even want him.
Ryan Kessler. This deal makes no sense whatsoever. John Moore he was a defenseman that they acquired in one of the in the Hamvis Lindholm deal. So they flipped him to Vegas. And Ryan Kessler, I mean, I don't think he's played in several years. And I don't That is the most confusing deal I think I've ever seen in a trade deadline.
Yeah, it makes no sense. It's cool though. Vegas is slowly losing their grasp on reality.
Absolutely, I'm here for it, man. Just don't finish below 10th.
Do you know why I hate Vegas?
Why? Well, other than they never had to work for it.
See that dodo right there?
Yeah.
See it? Yeah. That's my Alex Ovechkin tattoo. Vegas should have won that game.
All right.
It's okay. I mean, the guy that lost that bet the year before me has a full-size Budweiser bottle tattoo on his butt cheek. So, did I get off easy? Yes.
I think you did, yeah.
Would I rather have the Budweiser bottle? Probably not.
Yeah.
Am I happy that Tom Wilson has the Stanley Cup?
No.
I hate Tom Wilson.
I'm sure you do. We know you do. You say that every week.
Twice a week.
At least twice, yeah, true.
Yeah. That 2 is my goal. I try to keep it consistent. Anything I do past that's just overachieving.
I'm still just kind of blown away by this deal because, like,
it's so weird. It's such a weird deal. It doesn't make any sense.
Ryan Kessler, unless he, somehow has found the fountain of youth, and he had like back injuries or something like that kept, or hip or something like that kept him, really ended his career early, and it doesn't seem like the Vegas Golden Knights are in a position to take a contract, like a dead money contract. Because they're scraping by on the cap as it is, unless they've put Jack Eichel on long-term injured reserve as well, and now are just, they got all kinds of cap space. I don't know, man. It just kind of blows me away. And John Moore is not your answer on D for the Vegas Golden Knights.
John Moore's not your answer on much.
Yeah, I mean, if he wasn't hacking it in Buffalo.
Yeah, so it's the trades. That's
trades. So who do you think won the trade deadline, man?
Florida.
Yeah. So I would rank the teams. The top 5 teams in the trade deadline for me were, I'll say, Minnesota, Florida, Tampa.
So that's my top 2. I can't really pick which one, but yeah.
Colorado, and even though they weren't blockbusters, they were sneaky good trades. I think the Rangers did a lot to help themselves going into the playoffs.
Yeah, see, I was going to go Florida and Minnesota 1-2, whichever way you want to put it. And then I like what the Rangers did. I don't think the Rangers made a bad move anywhere.
Yeah.
Arizona, I like to see movement in Arizona. I think that's, growth, progress.
Yeah, I mean, at some point, Minnesota.
Oh, we didn't talk about Arizona's goaltender pickup.
Who'd they get?
Off waivers.
Oh, yes. Man, I tell you what, Arizona was my hero.
Sneaky.
So Toronto signed a guy named Harry Sateri, who was a draft pick. I think he was like a Calgary draft pick several years ago. Never broke into the league, but then has played well in the Finnish Elite League, I believe is where he was playing, and won gold medal for Finland in the just completed Olympics. Toronto signed them. Now, if you play in Europe during the season, you have to clear waivers to be able to be signed. So Toronto signed them on Sunday. He goes through waivers, and Arizona picks him up, preventing Toronto from getting a goaltender. I will tell you that Toronto is one of my just massive losers out of this trade deadline. They got Giordano, and really, and that wasn't all that great. That was the best that they got.
That was a terrible pick. I mean, it's just an awful decision. I mean, I can't comprehend that.
If they had picked up a bunch of players like they did last year with Foligno, it makes a little bit more sense. But if that's your entire trade deadline is picking up, earlier in February they picked up, God, what is his name from Arizona, the goaltender, who Carter Hutton played
Mhm.
Buffalo. That's
Already,
your trade deadline.
already got pictures of Marc-Andre Fleury in wild gear.
Nice, excellent.
Love to
He's
see
already
it.
in
Love to see
Minnesota. Are they playing tonight?
Yeah, he's playing.
Yeah, well, I heard that they aren't starting him tonight. They're going to start the.
No, it's they're already 3 minutes in. It's Minnesota and Vegas.
Yeah, so
So
wild.
yeah, get
Bruins are
wild.
up, yeah, and Bruins are up on the Canadians 1-0, and the Wild are even with the Golden Knights. Just a couple minutes into
The
game.
Wild are making such good decisions right now. I wish I would jump ship on Arizona and just pick them up.
I'm telling you, man, in a
I'm
couple of
living
years,
vicariously through Minnesota. You'll never hear anybody else say that.
yeah, in a couple of years, it's going to be tough to. I think it's going to be tough for Minnesota's. I think you're going to hear from Kaprizov. He might be agitating to get out of there because I think they are going to be so hamstrung with the bad contracts. But it's sad to think that contracts they gave out 10 years ago
10 years, yeah.
are going to hamstring them for another 8 years.
The ghosts of contracts passed.
My goodness, that's just awful. But yeah, Toronto is one of my big trade losers.
I think Toronto and Seattle were mine.
Seattle got picks. I mean, that's what they want, and they got Victor Rask, man. That's the key. That's going to get them. He'll be the face of the franchise.
Yeah, sure. I thought that Giordano was going to be the face of the franchise. Look where that went.
Oh no, I didn't. I'd never thought that Giordano was going to be the face of the franchise. I just knew that they got him to be the captain and trade bait.
I think that Giordano was supposed to be the face of the franchise.
Other loser, Winnipeg Jets. They got Mason Appleton back from the that's he's a unrestricted free agent at the end of the season. They didn't make themselves better. I mean, they did get rid of the Brian Little contract, and that helps them in the future for bringing in players. But again, you're Winnipeg. How many players are you going to be bringing in? 4. At least on the big name free agents. Maybe it helps them pay Kyle Connor when his contract comes up. That's, I think, the only benefit that I could see there. Let's see, other losers. I mean, I'm going to hit Buffalo because they had 85 guys that were on expiring contracts, and they only got one guy out of town on a 6th-round draft pick back. But again, Buffalo is kind of at that point where you got to stop the rebuild. We got enough picks. We got 3 first-round picks in this draft. 2 of them one's going to be really high. One could be higher. Go Minnesota tonight. And then, of course, you got the Florida draft pick at the butt end of the first round. But they could have dealt a couple more players. I think Cody Eakin could have gotten some picks back. He's a good face-off guy. He's not the most talented dude in the world. Are we get another trade? These things keep popping in here. Oh, Nelson Nogier and Marcus Phillips. That's a snoop. I don't know.
Okay,
I've never heard of either one of them. These things just keep popping into the tracker here. It used to be that they get all these trades in, and yeah, it didn't stop at 3:00, but at 5:00, you would have all the trades done and announced. They're just still popping trades in. Who knows? Maybe it's 3 weeks from now.
Enhance. Enhance.
Yeah, maybe I should refresh this thing. That's the last one, or at least for now.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's. It's been an interesting trade deadline. It's not been as big of a blockbuster trade deadline. I don't think they had the one, I don't think they had the names out there that are heading into restricted free agency that everyone would covet. I think a lot of the activity already happened before we got to it. So, like, of course, Jack Eichel had been dealt earlier in the season. Um, Sherratt was gone really fairly early.
Yeah, a lot of the interesting stuff is going to happen at the start of next season.
Yeah, this summer is going to be very interesting. So Phil Kessel remains an Arizona Coyote. Uh, Philip Forsberg was a story that was kind of emerging as the last few days of the trade deadline, and that he's without a contract at the end of the season. Uh, Reports are they're not close on a contract, and
Colorado.
yeah, I mean, who knows where Philip Forsberg goes? Um, and then the other thing that's holding over everybody is this flat cap. Teams have had to be really creative, and you're seeing teams kind of take that Tampa route and burying a couple contracts in long-term IR to free up cap space, retaining salary and all that fun stuff. Um, uh, you know, we'll see how that impacts over the summer. I think perhaps we're going to get some better revenue numbers just based off of inflation, um, and maybe we'll see it bump up a little bit. And maybe we'll get some room to see some more maneuvering over the summer. But there's some players that are going to be. I think there's going to be top end talent that are going to get paid. There's going to be some mid level talent that's going to suffer because of what's going on with the revenue.
And the theme of the season will be team friendly deals.
Perhaps, yeah. I mean, especially if you're a guy that's on Tampa or Florida, and let's say Tampa wins another cup. Do you, even if you're an unrestricted free agent at the end of the season, do you cut and run and take a contract elsewhere, or you going to stick around and take a team friendly deal and keep winning cups? Especially if you made your money already in the league, you could be like Corey Perry, who's on the fourth line there, sign a year long deal and stick around for league minimum. You already made your money in the league several times over. Keep winning cups.
Yeah, I mean, nobody's playing in the National Hockey League that is a starter is hurting. Like,
No.
Anything past $2 million a year is straight green.
Well, league minimum, I mean, is what, $750,000. I mean, that's not a bad life to live.
No, man, you go buy a new sports car every year, pay your rent, eat whatever you want, go wherever you want.
I mean, yeah, of course, 10% if it goes to your agent, or 15 or 20%. Who knows what they are now? But yeah. All right, man. Let's see. Do you have who do you think lost this trade deadline?
Probably Seattle. Seattle and Toronto.
Yeah.
Toronto made some awful decisions, which I'm happy with.
It's not only awful decisions. I mean, I was just watching the fan base just lose their mind as we got closer to 3:00. Between them and the Rangers, they were kind of trying to be who's more annoying about their GM not making a move. And eventually Chris Drury started making moves, but Kyle Dubas is getting roasted. And this dude, I mean, if it's a first round exit, he's done. Like he's
rightfully so.
And yeah, rightfully so. You can't 4 straight first round exits. I mean, that's with all the talent that he's accumulated there. He'll be they'll be asking him paper or plastic for his office building, I guess.
Yep.
Anyway, anything else for the week?
I think it wraps this up, man.
All right, man. So yeah, no show on Thursday since we did the show tonight. There probably won't be a ton of stuff to go on between the next couple of days. So enjoy the rest of the week. We'll see you all next Thursday. Oh, go ahead and pitch your shop again, man.
Oh yeah, Deep in Antiques in Beckley, West Virginia. We're right off of the split between 64 and 77. So if you're going east to west or north to south, you probably drive right by us as long as you're on the eastern seaboard. We sell stuff. We have things. We have rocks and chairs and glass and records and knives and a table.
You'll find something you need at the
Everybody finds something, dude. I have people come in and they're like, antiques are stupid. And then they leave with like a giraffe ceramic. And they're just so happy. I love it. It's an awesome job. I'm lucky to get to do what I do. I get to go to work every day and I'm my own boss, except for Tuesdays whenever I work at a pet store.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, but I'm getting ready to start Expo season. So even if you can't make it to Beckley, this coming weekend I'll be in Moundsville at the Moundsville State Penitentiary for the Reptile and Oddity Show. I'll be there both days. The week after that, yeah, I'll be buying spiders, man. I love my tarantulas. The week after that is the Paranormal Expo here in Beckley. My shop is notoriously one of the most haunted places in the city of Beckley. In Raleigh County, and now as it's been claimed in West Virginia, which is saying something because we have some wild stuff here. The Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum. If you're into paranormal stuff, West Virginia is well worth the road trip just to see some of the crazy places we've got. Not to mention Mothman and Point Pleasant and the Flatwoods Monster and the Grafton Monster. But I'll be all over the state of West Virginia with these upcoming reptile expos. I'll also be selling weird stuff from the store, everything from Civil War grave markers to I display some of my personal collection sometimes. So I actually have a large collection of guns and knives that were used in murders and suicides.
Oh wow!
So yeah, it's a weird thing that I started picking up a few years ago. A buddy of mine gave me a pistol his brother shot himself with. And after that, people started giving me stuff. And I was like, okay, this is kind of interesting. You have a known story behind it. So that's always something cool to check out. But, I have shanks and shivs. I have wet specimens. I have insects cast into resin. Bones. I actually have just started a dermestid beetle colony, so now whenever I kill coyotes and such, I'll be cleaning the skulls and selling them.
And basically anything that, if we're gonna have a nuclear war, you're gonna
I can supply you
for survival.
Yeah. I have a lot of military surplus too. You check out the Facebook, you'll see some of the stuff on there. Links down below. So.
All right, well, everybody, thank you so much for joining us on the Thursday night hockey show on Monday night after the trade deadline. We will see everyone next week.
I hate Tom Wilson.
I hate Tom Wilson too sometimes.
All the time.